Good evening. This is Brielle. I'm doing a new YouTube video to showcase a tarot spread I recently designed called the Dante's Inferno spread. This tarot spread is based off of the work Dante's Inferno, which is a classic work of literature, an epic poem about a man who goes into hell, into the underworld, and on his journey he has a guide who accompanies him. There are 9 complete levels of hell, and each one represents a place where people who did different sins would go to. However, we are going to use this work to inspire something called shadow work. Shadow work is when you confront your inner darkness and see it for what it is, so that you can integrate these things into your person to be a complete and authentic being. It's a very healthy process in my opinion, highly recommended by the late psychologist and one of the fathers of psychology, Carl Gustav Jung. Excuse me, I dropped something on the floor. I'm using an extra small deck today. This is my miniature tarot deck that I use on the go because the spread is quite big and I didn't know if I had enough room on the table for larger cards. It's quite lengthy, so I'm going to, without further ado, begin and start laying out the cards. And I could demonstrate to you how this could help a person deal with their own inner darkness. First card we draw is going to represent the energy of a guide. In the story of Dante's Inferno, his guide only accompanies him for a part of the journey and then cannot proceed no further, because sometimes in life, when we have helpers, we get to a point where they can't help us anymore and we have to figure out things for ourselves, which is another very healthy thing in my opinion. Now, lay them out. 9 more cards. And the way the cards are laid out represents our descent into the 9th level, to the very bottom, because the only way out of this is through. Now, I put my glasses on tonight because it's hard for me to see the cards. The first level, as we descend into Hades, is Limbo. Before we begin, what is the energy of our guide? And I forgot to mention who we were reading for. I am losing my mind a bit in my old age. Tonight, I want to do a reading for Pacino. And the reason why is because of his role as the devil in the movie The Firm. I think that's the one it was. Well, he played a devil in a movie. And I liked his performance. So we're reading for Al Pacino because everybody has a dark side to them. And his guide is represented as the Nine of Disc game. So I would like to say that his guide is a spirit of the earth who watches over him, an earthly person, a person who is down to earth. If I was reading for him, I would not know who this person was, but he might. I actually don't know very much about the actor Al Pacino, which is why I enjoy doing readings. I don't like to know about who I'm reading for. I let the truth come out in the cards. So he has a guide, an earthly person, a person who is wealthy in a way, in means of the earth and in worldly things, but still grounded and down to earth, I believe. That is what I'm feeling. Okay, let us proceed into hell. The first level of hell is Limbo. And it seems like it's the beginning and it wouldn't be so bad, but actually Limbo is very important because Limbo, we have to find out what inhibits you from having a greater understanding of reality. So Limbo was where people who were decent, who had no spirituality, went in the book, but I changed that a little bit. So this is what stops you from understanding the truest reality of everything. And I drew, I don't know if you can see it well, because the card of the Magus. So the Magus has lots of tools. The Magus has his wand, his staff. He has his goblet. The Magus has his pentacles. The Magus has his sword. The Magus has all of the elements. So it is saying that our client, Mr. Pacino, is limited in his understanding by the things that he has. It's said that often what you possess becomes what possesses you. The next level into hell we have the card for lust. And the card isn't lust. There actually is a card lust. The second level is lust. And we get the Prince of Wands. Now, this is say, what is your truest desire? And I would believe that he, our client, based on getting the Prince of Wands, wishes to be young and virile again. Too many days have gone by and there's regret, and I think he probably would wish he was a younger man to do all the things he did in his youth. And now, the next level, we are descending deeper into the abyss, is Gluttony. This is, what is your truest addiction? And we got the Eight of Swords. And I don't know anything about this man's personal life. But this is telling me that his truest addiction is being self-destructive to himself. I've seen a few of his films and his characters seemed a bit self-destructive, like Tony Montana. But instead of having what would be called physical addictions, it seems like he's addicted to pushing himself down. Probably feels guilty about some of his success, I would imagine. I actually am looking at a cheat sheet of the diagram I made for this spread because this is the first time I've tried it. The next level is the circle of greed. What do you hoard? And the Three of Discs came up. Works. And it seems like our client is a workaholic. He works himself to death when he does work, and pretty much, apparently he has something he's been saving for a rainy day, but the rainy day may never come, and the fruits of his labors may be wasted. Now, we're getting interesting. I actually drew this card reversed, so I have to read it differently than normal. And this one is a really tough one. And this is wrath. What do you hate? And I got the Five of Swords, which means the way is blocked, but it's reversed. It seems like Mr. Pacino has hated his own success. And Mr. Pacino, if you happen to come randomly upon this reading, please don't take offense to it. I chose you because you're a larger-than-life character, and I admire you. If it's not true, any of this, or if you are offended, I hope you just look upon this as it being good fun. Well, here is where things are going to start to get more interesting. You see, after this step, his guide cannot follow him. So in all these other aspects of finding himself and integrating his dark shadow nature, he has this ally, this grounded, affluent person or friend or family member that he knows. And if I was reading for someone, I would probably expect them to consider how this person could help them in those tasks. But here is where we are going into wild country, because after this, whoever steps beyond deeper into hell is on their own. And the next level of hell is called Heresy. What do you blaspheme or rebel against? Another one of my favorite cards. I get it quite often. I call this one of my usual suspects. The Seven of Swords. Futility. So, it would seem as if our client is, in a way, trying to rebel against the futility that no matter what legacy you lay down, eventually you will be forgotten. It would be hard to believe such one could be, but that's probably why he has tried so hard to be so meticulous in his career, to lay a legacy that will last. The next one, we're getting a little bit darker, a little bit deeper inside of the person. This one is violence, the circle of violence. Who do you wish to harm? And we got the Ten of Cups. It would seem that our client has a secret desire to harm his own wealthy brethren who are in the same fields. The people who are wealthy, he has a deep, deep inner resentment for them, even if he may not have ever said it. And he wishes he could harm them. They disgust him, I believe. You see, when you're doing shadow work is things deep in a person's unconsciousness. Sometimes a person is not even aware of their deep-seated resentments and feelings. And when we find these things out, we can work on them. And once you learn your truest nature and feelings, you could become a whole and integrated person. Okay, off my soapbox now. The next level of hell, we are almost to the bottom. Where old El Diablo waits. But first we must go through fraud. Who do you deceive? And I drew the Prince of Cups. Prince of Cups. A young, emotional person. I would say perhaps there's a young relative who our client perhaps has not been honest with, a young emotional person in their life, probably an artist, a poet, or musician, and they haven't been forthcoming about their true nature, and this person has been giving a false image to care about, but they don't know his own inner person. And because this came up in the reading, deep down our client feels a guilt about it. And now the deepest level of hell, treachery. Who have you betrayed? And the card which came up is the Two of Wands, which is dominion. And it is a double-edged sword here, because it would appear that the truest person our client has betrayed was themselves, because our client, in their attempt to control themselves, an attempt to keep their truest rages, their truest feelings inside, because, and this is common, most people do this, in this attempt, they have betrayed themselves, because if my client was to let out their true self, they would be free. But this is telling me that this person feels like a prisoner, because there's a part of them that has never spoken since they were a child. And now, just because I feel like it, because we've descended all the way to the deepest depths of hell. We've gone through all the circles. I would like to give the most treacherous thing I could give someone, because I am rather a dark and morbid person, and that is part of my true nature. Hope. When our client has gone to the complete depths of their being, how do they have the potential to come back to our world, to come back out of the shadow and back into the light? And I drew the Knight of Cups, and unlike the Prince of Cups, who secrets were kept from, the Knight of Cups is even younger, a child or a grandchild or a nephew, somebody who has brought extreme joy. This is someone who is very beloved, and I believe our client would accept parts of their true self and be authentic, because this young person gives them hope and joy that despite all the bad in the world, good goes on, and there is a bit of hope. And our client sees hope in watching this young, emotional, childlike person run about and play. And that could give him the will to rise up and escape from this bleak dungeon that we've just been through. And there we go. We have descended into hell. And now we are back on earth. Blessings to you for taking this journey with me. And as you know, I am Brielle Mariah Perlman of Twisted Hands Tarot. Be well.